welcome back to Ashanti's Bag Crochet. I'm Ashanti. Today we're talking about one of the most important skills in crochet, how to crochet in the round. If you watched my last video on the 7 essential stitches, shout out to you for one. And today we're talking about, again, how to crochet in the round. Crocheting in the round is literally how you make everything three-dimensional: bags, hats, bralettes, amuragumi, the flat circular base of a tote bag. All of that comes from knowing how to crochet in the round. So let's get into it. You need your yarn. I recommend worsted yarn, weight cotton, just for visibility purposes. Your hook, and we're going to be using a 5.5. And we're adding one more tool to your kit. You can use a safety pin, or if you have stitch markers, which are like plastic safety pins that are a bit thicker and wider than this. But stitch markers are tiny, but they're life-changing little clips that mark the beginning of your round so you don't lose your place. You can use, again, a bobby pin, safety pin, a piece of contrasting yarn, so yellow or blue, or you can buy a pack of the official ones. It just doesn't matter. They cost like $2, but trust me, just get them. You'll also need a yarn needle for weaving in your ends like this. You weave those in, and you need a pair of scissors. That's your complete toolkit. To start, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my yarn and wrap it counterclockwise around two fingers, which the two fingers I'm using is my index and my middle finger. I'm going to make an X, right? You don't have to pull too tight, just make an X. I'm going to secure that crossover with my thumb, okay? Because I'm going to remove this loop off of my two fingers, and I need it to stay in a circle. Now, insert your hook from the center of the hole from front to back. You're going to yarn over. That's why it's important to use your thumb and your middle finger, because your index finger is going to hold your yarn. You're going to wrap the yarn around your hook, pull that piece of yarn through the center of the ring, and make a single crochet or a chain. And that is how you secure your magic circle. This chain one that we just did does not count as a stitch. It just secures your ring, okay? Now you're gonna work 6 single crochets into the ring. And how I do that is simply by inserting my hook, yarning over, pull up a loop, yarning over, pull through 2. Insert, yarn over, pull up, yarn over, pull through 2. That's 2. Insert, yarn over, pull up, yarn over, pull through 2. That's 3. Yarn over. Sometimes you can just leave that working yarn over there. Pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2. Insert, yarn over, pull through 2. That's 5. Yarn over, insert, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2. That is 6. So now that you have your 6 single crochets in the center of the ring, you're going to pull the tail that we're talking about. And when you pull the tail, okay, I'm going to stretch it out, right? And how I stretch out the hole is I pull it apart and I start to pull at that string, right? Because it's the tail that is ultimately tightening the hole. And I'm going to place the stitch marker here in that previous stitch that we did so it doesn't close. And you can see exactly what I'm talking about. You're going to pull this tail and watch the center of the ring begin to close. Now you're going to slip stitch into your first single crochet to join the round. This is our last single crochet. We're going to join it with our first single crochet, which is, right here. Okay, slip stitch, you're just going to yarn over, pull through one loop, two loops. You have joined your rounds. That's it. Now you have a complete flat circle for round one. Now the second method is the chain ring, sometimes called the foundation ring. This one's simpler but leaves a tiny hole in the center. For some projects, that's totally fine. Like if you're making a flower or you're making a circle. I don't know, but it's fine for some projects, or like a conch shell. But you're going to chain 4 stitches, and I'm going to make a slip knot first. Okay, I'm going to chain 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Slip your stitch into the very first chain stitch right there to form a ring. No, we're going to do a slip stitch. Boom. We have connected those that last stitch to the first stitch to form a round. Now you can use this when you want a simpler start if you don't know how to make that magic ring and you don't mind this small hole in the center, right? I mean, you can pull the tail firmly, but this is as small as that center hole it's going to be. It's not going to be seamless. You understand? Here's where beginners get confused, and I'm going to make this crystal clear. There are 2 ways to continue crocheting in the round. Number 1 is the continuous spiral. You're just going to keep going. No joining, no chain up. You use a stitch marker at the end of each round to know where you are. This sounds like a spiral of a snail shell, and this gives you no visible seam, and it's great for conch shell bags, and sometimes it's great for beanies. Now, number 2 is a joined round, and at the end of each round, you slip stitch to join. You're going to chain 1 or chain 2 to the appropriate number of stitches to reach height. To make a flat circle like a bag base or a hat base, you have to increase every round. Increasing means you're working 2 stitches in the same stitch. This adds stitches and makes the circle grow wider instead of curling up like into a bowl like this. So follow along with me, make that magic ring that we're talking about. If you have to rewind, that's fine. I will be here. Okay, remember that is just our chain 1 to secure our ring. We're going to work 6 single crochets into the stitch. That's 1, that's 2, that's 3, that's 4, that's 5, and that's 6. Okay, pull the tail to close. Okay, we closed it. And now you're going to slip stitch into the first stitch here to join the rounds. 1, 2. And now you're going to place your stitch marker in the first stitch of the new round. So chain 1, I'm going to place my stitch marker right here because this is the first stitch after my chain 1. Actually, what I'm going to do first is I'm going to make my first chain 1, I make my first stitch, and then I'm going to mark it. So in the same stitch that you just made that chain 1, you're going to make a single crochet. Now you're going to mark your stitch. Okay. Now, round 2. You're going to work 2 single crochets in every stitch to give you a total of 12. You're going to slip stitch to join. You're going to move the marker. So there's 1. Here's another one. In that same stitch, now you move on to the next. This is 3. This is 4. This is 5. This is 6. This is 7. Oops. This is 8, 9, 10. Yes, I had a medium Dunkin', you guys, with a shot of espresso. I'm definitely feeling it. 11 and 12. So now we're going to move our marker because that is our chain 1. You don't insert into your chain 1. That's our first stitch. Slip stitch. Boom. There we go. Let me get this knot out of my yarn. All right. That's it. Flat circle. You're going to chain 1. Remember, that does not count as a stitch. And now for round 3, you're going to work 1 single crochet, 2 in the next. That's going to give us a total of 18. So right where you did your chain 1 single crochet, mark your first stitch. Round 2, second stitch 2, third stitch 1, fourth stitch 2. Okay, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I'm sorry, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, and 18. Okay, right where the stitch marker is, first stitch, slip stitch, remove your stitch marker for round 4. Remember, chain 1. Look at this beautiful round. Okay, now in the same stitch as that chain 1, you're going to make 2 single crochets. So you mark your first stitch. Okay, second, now second, now 2 and 2 and 2 and 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2. With your name on it, God's gonna bless it. With your name on it, God's gonna bless it. With your name on it, with your name on it. Y'all like to sing while y'all crochet? I know I do. It makes the time go by. I love just singing anything that's on my spirit. Maybe old song, new song, song I made up. I don't care. Okay. And then this is our last one. We should have a total of 24. I'm going to remove my stitch marker. I'm going to insert into the first stitch, make my slip stitch. I know if this happens to you, just take your time and get that knot out. So you don't have to cut your string And yeah, that's pretty annoying when you have to cut your string and join it again. Okay, that's your round and that's your round. Now what you're going to do is slip stitch, excuse me, chain one, right? And just keep going. So if you hold it up, is it flat? It should be smooth and it should be flat. This is the miniature version of a bag base or a hat base or a bralette base. This is where every hat on this channel starts, okay? Both of these. One's a little tighter than the other, but they're still in the round, right? Cool. So let me save you some frustration. Here are the most common mistakes beginners make when crocheting in the round. Number one, they lose track of rounds, and you can easily fix that with a stitch marker for every time you are crocheting your first stitch. Mistake number two is twisting the first round to make sure all your stitches are facing in the same direction, okay, before joining. Before joining the round and closing that round up, make sure they're all working in the same direction. Number three is the circle starts curling up, and that's because you're not increasing enough in those increase rounds, and you need to add more increase rounds. Mistake number four is the crochet hat, excuse me, the circle starts ruffling. That means that you're increasing too much and it's just starting to wrinkle up like this and it's not going to be flat, or your hook is too big for that worsted yarn. So the worsted yarn that I use requires a size 4 or 5. I am using a 5.5, but it's not big enough to where it's crinkling like that. Okay. And mistake number five is joining in the wrong stitch. So that's equivalent to me joining my round in the second stitch or in that same chain one. No, you need to join the round in your first stitch. Always slip stitch into the first stitch of the round, not the turning chain, because it is not a stitch. All right. So that is how you crochet in the round. You just unlock a whole new world of projects. Next up in this beginner series, we're going to be crocheting a crochet bag base. And you're going to use everything that we just learned in both videos, the 7 essential crochet stitches and how to crochet in the round, to make this bag base. It's going to be so satisfying. Make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss it. If this video helped you out, drop a like. It takes 2 seconds and it genuinely helps more beginners find this channel. Comment below what you're planning on making first since you know how to crochet in the round. I love seeing what you all are working on. My pattern shop and my website for my bags is linked below. I have a few beginner bag patterns and a few beginner crochet hat patterns designed specifically for beginners that come with tutorial videos. So go check them out and I'll see you next week. Bye.